Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video every single morning to help you catch up with things that you may have missed out on whilst you were catching up on some all important rest. Because let's face it, whilst you and I may sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. There's always something or the other going on, and it can be a little tough to keep a track on every single thing that is taking place in the world of sport. But worry not, that's what we're here for. And let's catch up with a bit of news that has been doing the rounds in the media. Is that Hardik Pandya might very well not be available for India in the upcoming Australia ODI series. Now, this would be obviously a little bit of a blow for India in terms of squad balance because, especially in today's day and age, we do tend to prefer batting with eight players, and then having an all-rounder the caliber of Hardik Pandya would be a bit of a necessity, and not having him is a bit of a blow. See how tough it was to negotiate with not having Pandya during the 2023 ODI World Cup. You managed in the Asia Cup, and then that was the Asia Cup. Australia are a whole different kettle of fish. The thing is, of course, that Pandya picked up a quadricep injury, and that is something that could take about 4 weeks to heal, meaning that he may very well actually not be available for the ODI series, but is expected to be a part of the T20 series. Now, obviously, one of the things that we know, in the aftermath of the Asia Cup, there's been a lot of fallout in terms of even cross-border relations that have already not great, and there's been a lot of chatter thereafter that maybe about India-Pakistan games as a whole and how political things got. Former Pakistan international Kamran Akmal has come out and said that the BCCI are a joke, and get this, Pakistan should boycott future games against India. Never mind the fact that this shows a total lack of self-awareness. A boycott for Pakistan in India matches would hurt Pakistan a lot more than it did India. So I don't quite understand what the point is of making this particular sort of comparison or saying that you need to be boycotting India games. It makes no sense whatsoever, but it's just the way it is. Another one this time from the India side, and this comes from courtesy R. Ashwin, who actually took a little bit of a sly dig and very clever one too at Haris Rauf. He said that the way Haris Rauf was bowling in the Asia Cup final ensured that India easily won the match. Now, of course, it wasn't easily to be won, but we do know what he means. Rob's bowling did in fact end up easing the pressure on India thereafter, because at one point it did feel like the pressure was building, the pressure was building. That one Hudson over in the middle was like an absolute pressure cooker CT or a whistle because it totally helped relieve all of the pressure. More cricket news this time looking a little bit international. The Nepal cricket team have sealed a historic T20I series win against the West Indies. They've beaten them 2-0 in a series, and in fact, what's more is that they've sealed the series before the start of the final T20I, and that's historic if you are Nepal, because again, Nepal are not a full member nation, however, they are technically an associate nation. And the fact that they could beat a full member nation in the West Indies, impressive indeed when you consider the kind of caliber that the West Indies had. And I know that West Indies, obviously, their fall or decline has been spectacular in international cricket, but they still remain a formidable side in white ball, particularly T20I cricket. So the fact that Nepal could get a series win against them is only Nepal's second win in a series against a full member team. The fact that they could get that win, very, very impressive. Also, it is worth noting, and this is something that is a new bit of news. As I said, we're sticking to the international side of things. England all-rounder Chris Woakes has announced his retirement from international cricket, and that should come as no surprise considering, of course, his advanced age and the fact that there had been chatter around it during the series against India as well. But what it means is that Chris Woakes has perhaps unintentionally or otherwise gotten one of the most historic, almost memorable send-offs in Test cricket. The fact that he came out to bat with a injured shoulder and requiring it to be actually wrapped in not only a pullover, but he also had his arm in a sling. I mean, few international players will ever get a send-off like that, and the fact that he can go out in that way, very, very, heroic indeed. Wokes, of course, getting, retiring, not much of a surprise, as I said, because he mostly gets selected in England series only. His average away from home, whether with the bat or with the ball, hasn't ever been great. And considering his advanced age, it makes sense that he would call it a day from international cricket, maybe play a few years of franchise cricket. But either way, I would say it's farewell to one of England cricket's more underrated components, when it comes to their run of success in white ball cricket. Remember, he was part of the side that won the ODI World Cup in 2019, also the T20 World Cup in 2022, and a very key component, even though because he was probably not the most explosive batter or most explosive bowler, he would perhaps not get the plaudits. But again, very underrated player and someone who deserves his flowers. Also, in more cricket news, before we switch to the world of international sport, today marks the beginning of the ODI World Cup, the Women's ODI World Cup, and India will be starting their campaign against Sri Lanka. Now, obviously, the ODI World Cup for India would be something of holy grail, and the fact that India are hosting it does put them with arguably the best chance. But of course, they will need to navigate the tricky teams in the knockouts because again, usually India tend to do well in the group stages and then come either the semi-final or the final. They will end up floundering. So one hopes that that's not something that happens. But you have to get through the group stage first, and India's first match will be a familiar one against Sri Lanka, where I would say India are the favorites. So it's not just Sri Lanka are a bad team. It's just that India are a much better side. ODIs does tend to suit their batters a lot more. Who a lot of their batters, with the exception of maybe someone like Smriti Mandana and stuff, well, they are most of Indian batters would be told are on the accumulators, right? Now, switching our focus from the world of cricket to the world of football. Now, there's some interesting news that's coming in. There's a Vinicius Junior documentary that is there on Netflix, and in it, obviously, he discusses a lot of things. But one of the more key things he discusses is, of course, the struggle that he's had with facing racist abuse from the crowd. Well, that discussion has led to a lawsuit of sorts from Valencia fans. In fact, not Valencia fans, Valencia the football club, because Valencia said that in the documentary, a large group of fans were mistakenly accused of making racist chants against the Real Madrid forward during a La Liga match in 2023. Now, it is worth noting that that match, which is being depicted, the match in question, did in fact lead to three fans being convicted of racist abuse and being handed an 8-month stadium ban. But Valencia's gripe isn't that. They said that what is showing is that a large number of fans are chanting racist things, which wasn't true. They were chanting a word, or that's at least their claim. They were chanting a word that meant stupid, but which sounds an awful lot like the Spanish word for monkey. Now, I mean, the fact that this is going to court means that they do feel they have something of a case, but I mean, it's just one of those things which seems more like an image protection thing than anything else. And speaking of again more football news, it's Champions League week, and one of the matches that a lot of people are interested in is Chelsea versus Benfica. Not because it's going to be a great match in terms of quality or anything, but the storyline is very interesting because Benfica are now managed by Jose Mourinho, the special one, who's still revered by a large section of Chelsea fans. And current Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca has said that Mourinho is a legend and he's very effusive in his praise for him ahead of his return to Stamford Bridge, which is interesting because even Mourinho was praising Maresca a lot. There's a lot of quotes that have been doing the rounds, and he said that he's leading the club in the right direction. A little bit of tennis news now, and the French Open is continuing to be a little bit of an outlier in one way that no other Grand Slam or even tennis tournament is. And that is that they are going to continue using line judges. Right now, the way things are working, all the Grand Slams have already adopted automated line calling. The ATP Tour as a whole has adopted automated line calling, but the French Open says that they're going to continue using uh, match referees or line judges in terms of judging the line calls because their belief is that human calls are still better off than the automated ones. Now, the automated ones haven't been without their glitches. There have been times where the system has just stopped working altogether, but I think it would make more sense to stick to the automated side of things. Then again, it is very much the French Tennis Federation prerogative what it is that they want to do. Last bit of news before we bring this wrap to a close. Tamil Nadu sprinter S. Dhanalakshmi, who only ended up making a return to action this particular season after serving a 3-year suspension for doping, has, get this, excuse me, has actually tested positive for a second time and could potentially be in for another ban. We always talk about what it is that holds Indian sport back at the international level, and one of the things, unfortunately, is doping. Now, of course, it's not my prerogative to judge because, again, a positive test can be down to a lot of things. But if someone's already served a ban and is then ending up catching another ban just shortly thereafter, it will raise a lot of suspicions. Hopefully, this serves as a little bit of a wake up call for India to clean the system out. And that's it from us for this edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, we enjoy your company. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap the bell, all that stuff. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook as well. And stay tuned throughout the day. More such updates coming your way from the world of sports. For now, from me, it is goodbye.